So, welcome students to this another lecture on the topic need to revisit Indian knowledge and culture. Agenda set for today's discussion uh, is that like exploring different dimensions of knowledge traditions in India, understanding their importance and sources of origin, then understanding continuity between ancient and medieval Indian knowledge systems, then learn how traditional technologies integrated science, ecology and society, and then critically analyze their educational and cultural relevance in present context. So, these are the points which we set for the discussion. Why revisit ancient Indian knowledge and why it is important to study or revive that? Actually, that is available, but why to revisit? That's the question. Ancient Indian knowledge spanning philosophy, natural sciences like Ayurveda, metallurgy, mathematics, astronomy, and so many other areas of arts and pedagogies like Gurukula commentarial traditions and craft traditions, they all represent accumulated methods of observations and particularly the classifications and practices that informed social institutions for centuries. So, revisiting this inheritance or this culture of knowledge, the vast treasures of knowledge, it can recover contextually appropriate solutions for contemporary problems like sustainable agriculture, low cost technologies, vernacular pedagogies, and ethics and morality and philosophical analysis, and so many other areas where it can contribute. Then it can also broaden epistemic plurality in education and research, and it can also strengthen cultural literacy and identity in curricula. And apart from it, National Education Policy NEP 2020 explicitly endorses Indian knowledge systems, that is IKS, as a resource for rethinking curricula and research agendas. Then again there are scholarly debates and cautions like revisiting ancient knowledge is contested in scholarship. Critics warn against treating ancient text as unproblematic authorities or converting scholarly recovery into political or ideological projects that claim unverified scientific status for traditional beliefs. So, there are debates are also going on. Many people are of the view that we should keep utmost care while revisiting so much ancient knowledge and its relevance in the modern time, and to what extent we can drive and we can take the facts for the implementation in the modern context. So that's why utmost care should be taken. Sheldon Pollock and interlocutors in his book Death of Sanskrit, he debates or he exemplifies how the study of classical textual cultures must attend to historical processes and context rather than nostalgic claims. So, this is one of the worries. Other critics caution that some program risk promoting pseudosciences unless subjected to rigorous verification. These debates underlie the need for critical historicism and the methodological rigor. Apart from mere nostalgia and exaggeration in scientific claims, there is need of rigorous studies and research based on scientific temper rather than pseudoscience without academic fervor. So, these are the certain ideas why we should revisit to the ancient knowledge traditions, just not as given, rather we have to research it. So, certain mechanism and ways are there, some specific ways to revisit that. Principles and safeguards for a productive revisiting. To avoid misuse and to maximize scholarly and social benefit, any program to revisit ancient Indian knowledge should follow these principles, like critical historicism. Study text and practices in their historical, linguistic, and socio-political context, trace transmissions, transformations, gaps, and silences. Then interdisciplinarity is very important principle where it combines histories, philosophies, sciences, social sciences, technologies, and craft practitioners. They should come together at one platform and to evaluate claims and extract usable into uh, they should be converted into the usable knowledge. Then plural epistemic lenses. This is one of the principles. It recognizes traditional knowledge as one form of knowing based on prakriya or shastra. While comparing with modern scientific epistemes, it should avoid the conflation or the hierarchy. Peer review and academic standards should be maintained, and then empirical validation, where traditional claims intersect with natural technical domains like medicine, materials, agriculture. Use contemporary methods, replication, controlled, or trials materials analysis to test efficacy. So, utmost care should be taken. That's why it is to be considered. Then, methodology, researchers and educators. Some methodology may be suggestive. Source mapping and philosophy identify primary text commentaries, material remains and oral traditions, prepare critical editions and annotated translations. So, original texts are to be studied for the sake of authenticity rather than depending on the translated or annotated works. Cross-disciplinary pilot studies, small reproducible studies to test traditional technologies, therapies, metallurgy techniques, agronomics practices are for examples. Then digitization and archives create open searchable digital corpora, manuscripts, inscriptions and material records with metadata for the provisions, so that others may be facilitated and they may reach to the documents with the help of the modern technology. All the digitized versions are available of the old manuscripts, and even from Sanskrit language to another language, the translation is also possible with the help of the technology. So that digitization and archives may be used in a better way. Curriculum design, introduce Indian knowledge as modules in elective courses in universities and schools and colleges. That is one of the ambitious take given or suggested by, endorsed by the National Education Policy. Community engagement, work with living custodians of crafts and knowledge, artisans or the healers, temple, monastic centers to document practices ethically. It is also one of the provisions in school systems that students should visit, and one day or 1 week without the bagless days in the schools. During that period, a student should visit the nearby places of local culture, nearby places in the villages or the nearby museums or centers of attraction in the form of, in order to know the Indian social culture, Indian religious culture, as well as whatever is important. So, a school should take part. So, that's a very important part as the part of methodology. Then quality assurance involve national international peer review boards before scaling programs. So, these are the certain methodologies. Then there are certain risk, politicization, pseudosciences and credential risk. We have categorized into the three, basically three types of risk are identified. One is the politicization of traditional knowledge. Politicization occurs when historical or traditional knowledge is used as a political tool rather than a field of scholarly inquiry. This can look like elevating some text or practices as symbols of national greatness without rigorous historical or scientific validation. When political movements set research priorities to demonstrate ideology, scholars and students, they may face pressure to produce predetermined results, undermining intellectual independence. A second danger is selective canonization, promoting a certain regional caste or religious traditions as the national heritage while sidelining others. This erases the plural history or the pluralistic aspects of the histories and living practices. Such processes also affect funding, appointments and curriculum design. Academic institutions risk becoming instruments of political messaging rather than centers of open inquiry. So, consequences may be reduced international collaborations, reputational risk to universities and alienation of minority knowledge holders. Then another aspect, another kind of risk may be realized as pseudoscience and misrepresentations. Pseudosciences appears when practices or textual claims are given scientific status without appropriate testing. For instance, asserting an ancient text proves a modern scientific fact without replication or peer review. Unverified claims presented as scientific causal claims without evidence. Then confusing cultural philosophical value with empirical efficacy. Then poor methodological standards and testing traditional claims. Media amplifications of sensational unvetted assertions or the public health, safety or environmental harms may result. So these are the certain probable risk if we just carelessly take into consideration the knowledge traditions, because we should take care of utmost seriousness and sensitivity towards the presenting effect that affect the life of the entire nation, the life of the entire society. So in that way, certain risks are also there. Then credential risk, academic and professionals. Then degrees, certificates based on unvetted curricula devalue academic credentials. Graduates may lack skills required by professional or regulatory bodies. Then employers and international institutions may disrupt qualifications. Erosion of academic standards and peer review norms. Long-term harm to institutional reputations. Regulatory bodies, health councils, engineering boards require defined competencies. If curricula do not meet these, graduates cannot practice. That creates a mismatch between what a degree claims and what graduates can actually do. So the reputational cost is also non-trivial. Once academic standards are perceived to be lowered, peer institutions, funders and global partners may uh, uh, disengage, reducing research opportunities and students' mobility. So before discussing further the uh, greatness of Indian knowledge traditions, we have to keep in mind that some methodologies should be there and some standard ways of identifying the knowledge traditions, so that that may be uh, utilized in a more fruitful way should be adopted there. So, practical safeguards and institutional best practices should be encouraged, like insist on interdisciplinary peer review, historians plus scientists plus ethicists, distinguish courses type historical, philosophical versus applied scientific. They should be allowed, require uh, pre-registration and transparent methods for empirical test, or create ethics and benefit sharing protocols for community engagement and so on. So, Indian knowledge, some outlines of examples may be there, that in what arenas Indian knowledge traditions basically it's a vast treasure of knowledge almost in all the arenas. When we talk about the ancient Indian knowledge traditions, that is not confined only to the areas of religion or the philosophy, rather in the areas of science and technology, and also the science itself is defined in a particular way in the knowledge traditions. Indian knowledge tradition uses the term Vigyan for that, and we have to be very careful about that what we talk about the modern science and what in Indian knowledge scriptures or traditions the word Vigyan depicts. The distinction should be very clear, that what do we mean by, before reaching to any conclusion. When we talk about the scientific way, so what does it say, what does it mean by the scientific way, and from the context of Indian knowledge tradition, that is to be understood. For example, uh, Taittiriyopanishad uses the term Vigyan, Vigyanmay Kosh, Pranmay, Annamay, Manomay. So here Vigyanmay Kosh is also there. Is it the same Vigyan what we talk about the science in modern time? That's why utmost care should be taken. So mere criticism is not required, or mere appreciation is not required. Rather, there should be a particular approach to study all those things. That's why terminology is very important. So we will come to that in the forthcoming lectures. So these are the certain topics on your screen, which I have just collected from the vast treasure of Indian knowledge traditions. One is the that is Persian wheel during the medieval period, canal and tank systems, medieval period, step wells, and iron pillar corrosion knowledge, or the dhokra, lost wax craft, market towns, caravansarais, bhakti era, and urban craft cultures, and the sacred groves and forest management, community seed systems, and Ayurveda hubs, markets, and pharmacology, and the agricultural guilds, merchants guilds in medieval India, and so many market system was there, and archeries were there, Ayurveda was there, medicine in the field of metallurgy was there, engineering was there. Thousands of areas are there. No area is devoid of the best technology at that time available. So that's why this area is very vast, but we are concentrating only some of the areas just for the sake of understanding that what actually it was. Agrahat, or the what you Arghat, that is the term what normally is used in the rural areas, Persian wheel irrigation. It is normally used widely in medieval India for lifting water. Even today in rural areas, you may find such type of wheels. It was used for lifting water using oxen-driven wheel and pots. It represents mechanical engineering and renewable energy use. So basically, it is called the Persian wheel because there are sources in ancient text and in medieval text that it has a relation to the Faras or the Persia or the Egypt also. That's why some connections was there. But in traditional Indian agriculture, uh, right from the very beginning in even ancient times, Rehet and Sakya, these words are also available in ancient scriptures and also in manuscripts, in Sanskrit manuscripts and the vernaculars, that such type of structure was also available in India. When in medieval period the Persian people brought it to the India, it just uh, advanced the system already available. So, this is Persian wheel, it was used in irrigation. Canal, tank and reservoir systems in medieval India, networks of canals, tanks, diversions, wires and cascading reservoirs, especially in Deccan, Tamil land, Bengal, Delhi, Punjab. Then epigraphic records show that bunds and the control mechanism of the flood water was available. And why it is important? Because landscape scale water management, seasonal control, equity in water shares. Tughlaq period, particularly in medieval India, in Delhi Sultanate, is known as era of water reservoirs, canals and irrigation marvels. But it doesn't mean that before Tughlaq period such facilities were not there. Sudarshan Jheel, one of the very important jheel during the Mauryan period, it was made during the time of Ashoka and Chandragupta Maurya. So, we have the long traces of canals and irrigation development. Then traditional rainwater reservoir and flood harvesting system, even today you find in the Rajasthan traditional water tank where the rainwater is preserved. And then Ahar Painis, that is Ahar Painis, this is one of the traditions of flood harvesting systems of South Bihar. It has a long history. And then irrigation and urban planning, you can see during the medieval India, this is the Firoz Tughlaq is known for urban planning and irrigation canals, Delhi, Hisar and Punjab. In one of the pictures, you can see that one fort-like structure is there. This is the urban structure initiated in the Hisar of Haryana, modern Haryana, that was initiated by Firoz Tughlaq. He established one entire city. So, he may also be known, or he may be described as one of the precursors of urbanization in medieval India, who just developed the villages into the cities, and he adopted and promoted the technology during that period. Then here you may also see certain other sources like step wells and water architecture. Architecture marvels is a Rani Ki Pav, combined water conservation and aesthetics in Patan, Gujarat. The architectural structure is very beautiful where water is reserved, water is just uh, used for the irrigation, but how it is stored. So, a step well was built as a tribute to Bhimdev, the first whose Bhimdev first, whose father had founded the Solanki dynasty in 11th century AD. Queen Udayamati, wife of Bhimdev first, constructed it. That's why it's called the Rani Ki Pav. It's still people and visitors visit to the Gujarat and they visit it. It's a beautiful structure. Iron pillar as and corrosion resistant metallurgy. That's one of the wonders of Indian architecture. 4th and 5th century Christian era pillars showing advanced corrosion resistant metallurgy, valuable case for ancient Indian material science. The Delhi iron pillar is a 1600-year-old 7.2 meter tall and 6-ton shaft of 99% pure iron, known for its exceptional corrosion resistance. Even today it is corrosion free. So, it was created by Gupta Emperor Chandragupta II. Then Dhokra, or the lost wax craft tradition. Casting technique using wax mold, often clay shell over wax, then melting wax and pouring metal practiced in many tribal areas like in Bastar and Bengal and MPs, many areas. It demonstrates knowledge of mold materials, thermal expansion, metal flow, artisanal uh, iteration, and the modern links is studio crafts, small scale metal prototyping and material reuse. So these are the certain examples on your screen. Uh, the certain pictures are there: dhokra metal casting and Buster wooden artwork. The middle picture is the wooden artwork where you see that some dancing figures are there. That is the wooden structure by the Bastar tribal people. And then market towns, guilds and trade networks, they were also the outcome of the great knowledge traditions, how they used to manage the market system. Alauddin Khilji is also known for his the market policy. He established Sarai Adal, that is the pre-form of today's big bazaar. So he arranged at one place all the traders to sell their products so that customers or the general public may also get all the items, all the objects at one place. So that was known as the Sarai Adal. So in medieval India, trade clusters, guilds were the marvelous structure of market system during the ancient period, during Guptan period. The guild system developed. The modern, you see the precursor of today's industry, where you see that the like manufacturing firms are clustered in one industry. In the same way, all the traders who are doing business in the oil, or who are doing business in the gold, or who are doing business in the textiles, they come in the same guild, that is called the Shreni. That is what we know today as the industry, that automobile industry. So various firms manufacturing the different types of automobile, they come in the same industry. So Shreni and guilds were like that, on that pattern, or you can say industries on that pattern. Karma Sarai was very famous during the ancient and medieval period, where traders on the trade routes they were established, when traders used to come from the far off places, and during the night time for the rest they used to stay in the way. So many rulers established the Karma Sarai in the way of the traders, and medieval period was very famous for such Karma Sarais are there. Karma Sarai at Fatehpur Sikri during Mughal period, and you see that Arab Sarai in Delhi, they are still remains are still there. If you go to Delhi, then you may see near Humayun Ka Maqbara, the Arab Sarai remains are still there. The beautiful gate is there on your screen, you may see. So some pictures are also available in the form of Mughal paintings, in the form of the paintings in later period, where markets are depicted during Mughal and ancient period. Then Ayurveda and medicinal plants. Local herbal gardens, trade in medicinal plants, trade networks for material medica across regions, traditional health system based on herbal knowledge and localized pharmacology. These are all the marvels of ancient Indian knowledge traditions, and Ayurveda is one of the very important contribution of ancient India. Ayurveda is one of the four Upavedas, Dhanurveda, Ayurveda, Shilpa Veda and Gandharva Veda. So Ayurveda is basically related to the health and the medicinal plants. And modern links may be there, that ethnopharmacology, research medicinal plant conservation, validated herbal products. So it's becoming very important nowadays. And yoga is also associated to Ayurveda. Then charkha, a spinning wheel. Obviously, we know charkha is associated with Mahatma Gandhi. The first mention of a spinning wheel, charkha, in India is found in the 1350s for Futuhus Salatin by Isami. He was the writer. The spinning wheel was likely introduced to India from the Islamic world or Persia, with widespread use in the Indian subcontinent, establishing by the 13th and 14th century Christian era. Then come to sacred groves and traditional forest management, community seed system, and then you see that certain other aspects are there. Modern relevance of such forest management or community system may be that community forestry, protected micro reserves, ecosystem restoration. Maflong in Meghalaya, this is one of the community forest. Participatory breeding, seed networks, agroforestry, agroecology models may be provided on the basis of these ancient knowledge traditions. So, as a concluding remarks, we can say that recover plural epistemologies, not a single narratives, in order to revisit Indian knowledge traditions. Then peer recovery with rigorous interdisciplinary validation should be ensured, and also ensure ethical, inclusive and right-based engagements. Then guard against politicization and pseudoscience through institutional safeguards. All those risks should be, there should be some mechanism to handle all such risks. Then translate validated knowledge into contemporary education, sustainability and livelihoods. So just winding up with these beautiful lines of Gautam Buddha, we do not need more knowledge, but more wisdom. Wisdom comes from our own attention. So thank you very much. See you in the next lecture. God bless.